Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions: the mystery of fast radio bursts, signals from across the universe that no one can explain. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction. Not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. In 2007, astronomer Duncan Lorimer was searching through 6-year-old archival data from the Parkes Radio Telescope in Australia when he found something that should not have been there: a radio signal that lasted 5 milliseconds and released more energy than the sun emits in 3 days. It had come from outside our galaxy. It had never been seen before. It had no known cause. Since that discovery, over 1,000 fast radio bursts have been detected. Some repeat, emitting hundreds of pulses from the same location. Most fire once and are never heard from again. One was traced for the first time to a magnetar inside our own galaxy, but that single confirmed source cannot explain the full population of observed bursts. Their energy, their brevity, their extragalactic origin, and their strange repeating patterns have made them the most discussed phenomenon in modern radio astronomy. What is producing signals this powerful from billions of light years away and doing it in the time it takes to blink? This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the expanding frontier of unexplained cosmic phenomena, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. Space exploration has produced many surprises, but perhaps none as persistent as the anomalies that professional scientists describe and then struggle to explain. These are not the claims of amateur enthusiasts or fringe theorists. They are the published findings of researchers at NASA, the European Space Agency, and major research universities, documented in peer-reviewed journals and presented at professional conferences, then quietly filed under requires further investigation while the scientific mainstream moves on to the next mission. The anomalies take different forms: unexpected geological features on planetary surfaces that do not match known formation processes, electromagnetic signals that arrive from directions where no known source exists, orbital mechanics of small bodies that deviate from SETI, predictions of established gravitational models in ways that suggest an additional, undetected force. Each individual anomaly might be dismissed as an instrument artifact or a modeling error. But when anomalies accumulate across multiple missions, multiple instruments, and multiple research teams, the collective weight becomes harder to discount. Science advances precisely by taking anomalies seriously, by treating the things that do not fit the model as invitations to improve the model rather than as embarrassments to be minimized. The history of physics is largely a history of anomalies: the precession of Mercury that Newtonian gravity could not explain, the cosmic expansion that Einstein refused to accept, the dark matter that bends light with no visible source. Each one, properly investigated, expanded the boundaries of what we understand. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades, and patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter. The core evidence surrounding fast radio bursts, signals from across the universe that no one can explain, is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. The Lorimer burst, designated FRB 010724, was discovered in 2007 by Duncan Lorimer and student David Narkevic in archival data from the Parkes Radio Telescope captured in 2001. The burst lasted approximately 5 milliseconds, and its dispersion measure, the degree to which lower frequencies were delayed relative to higher ones, indicated it had traveled through an enormous column of ionized intergalactic gas, placing its origin far outside the Milky Way. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen. Instruments malfunction. Researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered, in 2016, FRB 121102 became the first fast radio burst confirmed to repeat. Over the following years, it emitted more than 300 detected bursts from the same location in a dwarf galaxy approximately 3 billion light-years away. Repetition ruled out any cataclysmic one-time event as the source for repeating bursts and demanded a mechanism capable of producing the same extraordinary energy output again and again. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine the Canadian Hydrogen Intensity Mapping Experiment, CHIME telescope in British Columbia, began operations in 2019 and immediately transformed the field, detecting hundreds of fast radio bursts per year due to its large aperture and wide field of view. Before CHIME, fewer than 100 total FRBs had been detected. CHIME pushed the total past 1,000 within 3 years. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation, but the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, in April 2020, FRB 200,428 was detected simultaneously by CHIME in Canada and the STARE-2 array in California. It originated from SGR 1935 plus 2154, a magnetar, a type of neutron star with an extraordinarily powerful magnetic field, located within our own Milky Way galaxy. This was the first fast radio burst positively associated with a known astrophysical object and provided the first direct observational link between magnetars and FRBs. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of the energy output of fast radio bursts is staggering even by cosmic standards. A burst lasting a few milliseconds can release as much energy as the sun emits in several days. For repeating bursts, this energy output must be regenerated between pulses. No conventional stellar process operates at this energy density and repetition rate, which is why magnetic reconnection events are the leading candidate. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding. Avi Loeb and Manasvi Lingam published a 2017 paper in the Astrophysical Journal Letters proposing that fast radio bursts could be the leakage radiation from alien light sail propulsion beams, enormous microwave transmitters used to accelerate solar sail spacecraft, with Earth occasionally falling within the beam's sweep. The paper was peer-reviewed and published, though it has not attracted broad support in the FRB community. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological errors. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations, and in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain fast radio bursts, signals from across the universe that no one can explain. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that rotating magnetars, neutron stars with magnetic field strengths 1 trillion times that of Earth's, are the currently favored source. Supported by the FRB 200,428 association with SGR 1935 plus 2,154. In this model, catastrophic magnetic reconnection events in the magnetar's crust release energy explosively as radio waves. The model explains repeating bursts from stable magnetars and, with modifications, may account for non-repeating bursts from magnetars that destroy themselves or undergo merger events. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence, but it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that Loeb and Lingham's 2017 paper proposed that fast radio bursts are beamed emissions from alien civilizations using directed microwave energy to propel light sails across interstellar distances. A transmitter of the required power, focused on a sail twice the size of Earth, would produce exactly the observed energy characteristics when its beams swept across the line of sight. The proposal remains technically consistent with known physics, but has no supporting evidence beyond the energy argument. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that collapsing neutron stars or neutron-star mergers could produce single, non-repeating fast radio bursts as a cataclysmic electromagnetic pulse during the final collapse event. This Blitzar model, proposed by Falk and Rezala in 2014, is consistent with non-repeating FRBs but cannot account for the repeating population, suggesting that different classes of FRB may have different underlying mechanisms. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree. That is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding fast radio bursts, signals from across the universe, that no one can explain does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes the simultaneous detection of FRB 200,428 by CHIME and STARE-2 in April 2020 from the known magnetar SGR 1935 plus 2154 provided the first direct observational confirmation that magnetars can produce fast radio bursts. The burst was approximately 1,000,000 times less luminous than extragalactic FRBs, but shared their key characteristics, establishing the magnetar mechanism as physically viable at the required energy scales. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented CHIME catalog of over 1,000 fast radio bursts has enabled statistical analysis of the population for the first time. Analysis of host galaxy environments shows that FRBs preferentially occur in star-forming regions consistent with young magnetar populations, and that their distribution across the sky is isotropic, indicating an extragalactic population distributed throughout the observable universe. This evidence, has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed no fast radio burst has been identified as carrying structured information or a repeating pattern consistent with artificial communication. Dedicated SETI searches of FRB host locations have detected no accompanying narrowband radio signals, optical pulses, or other indicators of technological origin. The dispersion measures of all known FRBs are consistent with propagation through natural intergalactic plasma. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding fast radio bursts, signals from across the universe that no one can explain. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. CHIME has transformed fast radio burst astronomy from a curiosity into a major observational field. Real-time localization systems now allow follow-up observations within minutes of detection, enabling multi-wavelength characterization. The square-kilometer array, currently under construction in South Africa and Australia, will increase detection sensitivity and localization precision dramatically when it comes online. The magnetar mechanism is confirmed for at least some FRBs, but the full population, particularly non-repeating bursts of extreme luminosity, may require additional source classes. SETI has not identified any FRB as a communication signal. The phenomenon remains one of the most energetically extreme and mechanistically puzzling in modern astrophysics. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made, new analyses are being published, new voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of fast radio bursts, signals from across the universe that no one can explain, from the historical record, through the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of fast radio bursts ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.